What's up everybody, I'm Jason and welcome back to the channel and welcome back to something a little different. So I'm not going to be talking about camera gear today per se. I am going to be talking about something that is related to camera gear, and that is this, or more accurately, how to modify two of these. These are Tilta's seamless focus gears for lenses to fit on a lens that's too big for the biggest size that Tilta makes. Now, I really like these, both because I shoot with a follow focus when I'm shooting video, and because when I'm shooting stills manually, it gives me a really nice tactile feel to find the focus ring that I wouldn't normally have if I was just using the regular Canon focus rings. And so I wanted to put one of these on my two largest lenses that Tilta's products don't fit out of the gate. So that is lenses like this. This is a Canon RF 28-70 f2, or like this, the RF 100-500. Both of those, the focus rings are just too big to fit even the largest of these Tilta rings. So let's jump over to the workbench and take a look at how this all goes together and show you how to make one of these lens rings for yourself if you have a lens that's too big for the stuff that Tilta actually sells. So for this project, we're of course going to need the lens that we want to put a focus ring on, a lens ring on. We're going to need the focus rings. I've already got one that I've cut from another lens. We're going to need two of them. A way to cut it, a way to mark where we need to cut, and super glue or cyanoacrylate adhesive to glue it back together. So the problem, of course, is this 100-400 is focus rate gear is just too big for these rings. So step one is going to be, I like to flip the ring inside out because we want to get as straight of a cut as we possibly can. And then we're going to just hold it down and cut it through the valley of a gear. Gluing this to the other piece. First thing we want to do is glue the two rings together, and I like to make sure that they have the same edge profile. One side will have a little bit of a lip, the other side doesn't. Super glue. Get the edge well coated. I have some packing tape or scotch tape, either one works, on my mat. Hold the things up, hold the things down vertically, push them together and hold it and make sure it's aligned. And we're going to just let that sit there and cure. And it's pretty good on the bottom, not perfect, but it doesn't have to be perfect. This actually works pretty well regardless of how it's done. So the next thing to do is to actually fit it to the lens, and there's a couple of ways you can go about doing this. If you have one of these flexible tape measures, you can of course measure the lens, making sure to pull this as tight as possible. However, what I vastly prefer to do with this is actually just use my lens ring, because it'll give me the exact groove in the gear that I want to cut into. Now, there's two ways to wrap this. You can wrap this with the bigger lens ring or the smaller lens ring. Obviously, if you just cut two same size lens rings, they're going to be the same. But for this, I want to wrap it with the smaller lens ring is what I'm keeping intact, and the bigger lens ring is what I'm cutting, because I want to have the joints kind of as far apart as I can get them. And so I'm going to wrap the lens ring around. I'm going to make sure to work it as tight as I can. I'm going to even pull it a little tight, and then I'm going to use my Sharpie marker to make a dot right on the valley here where the lens rings overlap. And then it is just a matter of finding our dot, which is right here, flattening out the ring in a way that I can see the dot, and you can kind of see what I'm doing. So the dot is right there. It's in this groove where my thumb is. And then I want to line up, and keeping the knife again as straight up and down the middle of the valley as I can, cut the lens ring. And then of course, I want to put it back around the lens and make sure that it fits. And it is not as tight as it could be, but it's not terribly loose either, which is pretty much what we want. I mean, obviously I could get it maybe a little tighter, and that feels like it'll work. So again, back to gluing, same procedure. Coat the end in super glue. Both things flat to the table. Just get over it to make sure that you're aligning it vertically. Push together, hold for a couple of seconds, and then give it some time to fully cure and dry. And so, of course, the last thing to do once you have your lens ring glued together is fit it to your lens. And this is not the tightest fit in this case, but it should be good enough. Focus ring turns, it'll work with a follow focus. I don't expect it to actually slip when focusing, and if worse comes to worse, I can always cut one more tooth off of the gear and glue it back together and make it really tight, or put some shim stock under it, like a little piece of rubber or some tape or something like that, and make it a little fatter and make it tighter that way. So there you go, how to make two of these into one of these to fit on one of these. I hope you enjoyed this, or at least found it useful. If you did, let me know by hitting that like button. If this kind of thing seems like it might be your kind of thing, please consider subscribing if you're not already. And as always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.